Now, one really impressive feature about the Char-Griller Gravity 980 that really sets it apart from any pellet grill is that this thing can go anywhere from 200 to 700 degrees reliably in terms of the temperature range. Now, while that gives you a lot of options from low temperature smoking all the way to high-end grilling, the one thing you're probably wondering is that across the 980 square inches of grilling surface is how evenly is that heat actually being distributed. Now, there are some unique features with the kind of heat baffles and other internal components to the Char-Griller Gravity here that really are intended to help distribute the heat. But in today's test, I'm going to do a run at a couple different temperatures just to see how well it does. And for purposes of kind of testing a broad spectrum here, I'm going to use 250 degrees, 400, and 650 degrees for our kind of test ranges. And I'm going to use mini pancakes and distribute them evenly across the top of the grill surface just to see if we have even cooking across this or if there's certain areas that get really hot. All right, so the grill's preheated and we're ready for test number 1. As you can see, I'm going to be using 12 pancake minis that will be evenly distributed across the grates. We've got the grill preheated to 250 degrees and we'll be doing this for 30 minutes to kind of simulate the test. So if we go ahead, let's go check out the temperature and we'll get them on the grill. See it? All right, so to place them on the grill, I'm just going to be evenly distributing them across the back edges here in 3 different rows. That way we'll have a good idea as to how even the heat distribution is across the grill here. All right, so we'll check back in 30 minutes. All right, so our 30 minutes is up. Let's go ahead and pull off the mini pancakes to see how we did at 250. Once again, this is for 30 minutes, so let's take a look. And I'm aligning these in the exact order that they were placed on the grill here. Oh. All right, guess we lost one. All right, so looking down at these, obviously there's not a whole lot of char because we were only looking at 250 degrees for the temperature here. But in terms of them getting a little bit of color, it looks pretty darn even. Once again, this was the back left corner and this was the front right corner. So with the exception of that one that I accidentally dropped into the grate that we'll have to retrieve in a minute here, they look pretty darn even. This one in the middle has a tiny bit more color, but that could just be from a little bit of extra grease in the grill. Otherwise, it looks super even. So this test, I would just call it, looks like a wash here, all very even. So we'll go ahead and crank the grill up to 400 degrees and we'll do test number 2. All right, so for test number 2, we're gonna do 400 degrees. We're gonna do 5 minutes, exact same layout. We have 12 pancake minis, 3 rows, 4 across each side. So let's go ahead and get them on the grill. Ooh, light side down.
Doing light side down, you're holding it.
All right, so it's been 5 minutes for test number 2 at 400 degrees. Let's go ahead and pull off our mini pancakes to see how they're doing. All right, so taking a look at the mini pancakes here, once again arranged in the exact order as they were placed on the grill. It looks like we've got in the front middle to the right-hand side, closest to our heat source. Might look like it's a tiny bit warmer, but overall this is a pretty minor difference, and actually I would say that's kind of expected given that all the heat flows in from the heat sources and is blown in through the fans. Just seeing it be just a tiny bit hotter is not too unrealistic, but looking across the rest of these, still really even, so that's pretty impressive. Once again, that was 5 minutes, so we'll go ahead and heat the grill up to 650 degrees for our last test now. All right, so for our third and final test, we're doing our 12 pancake minis for 2 minutes at 650 degrees. I'm gonna go ahead and use the trusty tongs so I don't burn myself. Let's go ahead and get them on the grill. All right, There we go, in for 2 minutes. All right, so our 2 minutes are up. Let's go ahead and get them off before they fry. All right, there we go. So once again, that was 2 minutes at 650 degrees. We're matching the exact same layout that we've used for all the other tests here. Once again, this is the right-hand side of the grill closest to our heat source, that being the further side. Once again, I can see tiny variations where perhaps it's a little bit darker, perhaps on this one, and this back left guide, maybe these two are a tiny bit darker, but really, at 650 degrees, this is still super even. Not that you'd ever really do much cooking at this temperature, it's more so for finishing, perhaps doing a sear or a reverse sear. So not that you'd use it that often, but good to know that if you wanted to put a bunch of different pieces of meat on here to spread them out, you're gonna have a pretty even cook. All right, so there you have it. We've done our 3 tests here. Always, once again, using our 12 mini pancakes at our 3 different temperatures of 250, 400, and 650 degrees, or better known as the flamethrower. And as you can see, while there were some tiny differences at 400 and 650 in terms of some of these back corners, and especially this side a little bit closer to where the heat source is, may have been a tiny bit hotter, but I think overall, when you think about trying to utilize all of the square inches that are available in this grill for grilling or smoking different meats, it really does give you a really good option for kind of taking full advantage of that space. Of course, if you want to play it safe, dead center is probably going to be your best bet here, but overall, I think this is a really darn good test. Now, keep in mind, this is, of course, it's just my one test with this one grill. Each grill may have its own variances, but I think kind of looking at some of the internal components, the reason that it does so well distributing this heat across this wide temperature range across such a big surface area is because it has some interesting pieces. Now, if you assemble the grill, you notice that there's one big slot that slides in. It's called the heat manifold, and that essentially takes heat from our charcoal heat source over here and distributes it and carries it all the way from the far side of the grill closest to where I'm standing at. And on top of that, there's also a heat shield that sits on top that has different little cutouts or baffles in them that then further spreads the heat from front to back of the grill. So I think these two little pieces, while they seem very simple, they really do a great job of helping to distribute that heat more evenly across the grill instead of having super hot spots in one area and have it be really cold on the other end. So once again, while there was a minor temperature variation, I think this is overall a pretty compelling test to say that, wow, this big grill here can actually do a great job of spreading pretty even heat. So with that, the grill's obviously very well warmed up at this point. I think it's time to smoke something besides just some pancakes at this point. So I'm going to go find some meat and a cold beverage. And until next time, have a great weekend, my friends.